Right, okay, so this is a quick introductory video on growing through the winter and the plants you can grow, a few quick tips about how they grow and when you can get them from us and when they're going to be ready and what you're going to likely to harvest over the winter and into the spring.
Okay.
Okay, so growing over the winter is completely different from growing over the summer because instead of the days getting longer and everything getting warmer and easier, everything gets harder and harder and harder. And then all of a sudden it goes into reverse, and as you come into the autumn, i.e. the spring, everything starts to grow really, really strongly again. So we are now at the end of August. We've got probably another 2 months or so of good growing weather in London. And we then not to get early frosts here, so plants grow quite strongly right up until the end of October. Once you get past basically Halloween, day length drops below 10 hours and plants start to grow really slowly. There's nothing you can do about this. Warmth doesn't make things grow faster past that point. It's just something plants do. When days get short, plants slow down dramatically.
Well, they hibernate as well.
They kind of go into stasis. So you end up with this period from basically Halloween to Valentine's Day when plants are growing in slow motion.
Okay.
This phenomenon is particularly acute once you get to midwinter. So December, January, you really get really little growth at all. You will still get growth, but it slows right down. So you could really think about the 4 months of winter, or the 3.5 months of winter, you get about 1 month's worth of growth out of that.
Okay.
So if you want to have veggies to eat in the winter, you're trying to get into as much as possible, trying to get do their growth beforehand. So you're trying to stock your crop. So it could be a root crop you planted in the summer, though it's getting really late for root crops now. There's a few radishes you can still try, but it's pretty much the end now for those things. What you can still do is lots and lots of tasty leaves.
Okay.
You're trying, if you want to harvest them in the run up to Christmas, you need to get them you need to get a plant which is sown now, end of August, in the ground in September. Should crop in from the end of October, November.
Okay. What are we going to be giving out?
I'll come to that in a second, but it's a really long list of crops. The other thing you can do, and so these crops will then, you plant them, they'll have their rosette of leaves, you'll eat them over Christmas. If you strip the leaves off and just leave a few leaves, they actually become much hardier. So if you get really, really cold weather, it's worth harvesting them and leaving just a few leaves behind, so the plants can bounce back and just leaving the crown back. And then what then happens is when the warmth comes back, and particularly when day length comes back in the spring, these plants grow away like crazy, and you have very heavy crops in March and April, months earlier than you would otherwise have had if you'd sown the plants in late February or March in a protected space. You wouldn't be able to sow these crops outside probably in some years until early to mid-April, particularly if it's cold. So it gives you lots of crops late winter. If you're on the case, it will give you quite a lot early winter. It will give you slim pickings over the winter. It'll give you something, and then a lot again the other side of the year. So the kinds of crops we're going to be giving out for these are lettuces, winter lettuce. We've still got some radicchio, which is getting late now for hearts, but it'll give you lots of leaves over the winter.
Okay.
We're going to have lots and lots of Asian greens. There's lots and lots of very, very hardy, super tasty crops for the winter, which come from the Far East. So this is a big range of winter mustards.
Yep.
Mizuna, pak choi, and some other things too. All of those things, really, really tasty. The special thing about those is people insist on eating them in salads. They're always better cooked because that's what they were developed for. Blanch them or pickle them.
Oh, really?
And they'll be 10 times tastier. They'll be really, really high quality if you do that. So yeah, that's the core. And the herbs we've talked about in another video today. So there's a range of leafy greens. Other things we'll keep going. Actually, plants you may already have in your garden, like your kales, and your chard, and your perpetual spinach. They're all winter crops. They're all good winter leaves.
So we're talking about these leafy greens going in when you take out the summer vegetables that are finished.
So some of these things could be going in now if you've got the space, but lots of people don't have the space yet. So we're growing them on for you. They'll be ready late September, mid to late September. Get them in as soon as you can. And the sooner you get them in, the sooner you're going to have crops this side of Christmas. Okay. Or the more you'll have this side of Christmas. The other thing you can actually do is in some places, space is already opening up. So if you've got tomato plants, particularly in containers, now's the time to start planting around them. So you can plant herbs we've already got here for collection, or really sweet, or lettuces or endives or whatever, that space under the tomato. In fact, we've got some spaces opening up under the tomatoes here in the greenhouse.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they're being planted up already.
Yeah, they have.
They're already getting planted up with winter crops.
Yeah. Is that because you've picked all the side shoots off the tomatoes?
We picked the side shoots out, and all of that. These tomatoes got quite a lot of diseases. The bottom leaves, which got ill.
Yeah.
So, but in a greenhouse, you'll be taking up leaves. So we've talked about leafy greens for the winter, but there are some other vegetables you can also be planting at this time of year. They're not really now for the winter, but what they do is give you a massive head start on crops sown in the spring.
My favourite, broad beans.
So the classic one is broad beans, which you don't want to sow too early. We'll have lots of seed of those for people. We've actually already got the seed in a big bag at my house.
Ooh.
They're for really planting in October, the beginning of November. The idea with this is basically to plant a small plant that overwinters and then grows away strongly in the spring.
Mm.
Often you want quite a small plant, because small plants are actually hardier than big plants in lots of cases. So we're going to be giving you out broad beans. The other one you can do is peas. Overwintering peas are brilliant. They come really early. You'll be harvesting those in May, maybe early June, way before anybody else's peas. And those plants will be coming out in time for your summer crops like your courgettes and your tomatoes. Mm. So you get a really good early crop, followed by your main summer crop anyway. They're kind of taking up space and time. You're using the garden and you're using your plots at a time when there won't be anything else there to produce a really tasty early crop.
Yeah.
For a time when there's not very, very many vegetables around.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
So that's it. Basically, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but there's this period called the hungry gap, which is spring. When you've eaten all your winter crops, like all your parsnips and your beetroots and your pumpkins, they're long gone, but all your spring seeds haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So planning now for the hungry gap, either through leafy greens or through these vegetables like broad beans, spring cabbage is another one we're doing. That's a really easy crop, which gives you a really nice cabbage in generally late May, but some of our early ones maybe early May or even April.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be doing those. That's the other kind of crop.
Brilliant. And we'll be handing the seedlings out in mid-September, late September?
Seedlings, well, we've got seedlings to go now. They're a bit on the small side, but diversity will increase, and it'll be going crazy. We have lots and lots of different things mid to late September.
Okay.
And we'll still have plants in October. It's not too late to plant in October. We do it too.
Yeah.
But once you get later in the year, you get less before Christmas.
Okay.
Or if you still want to get stuff over the winter growing well, it's worth thinking about making a little planting them in a greenhouse or windowsill, or making a little plastic tent outside. Mm-hmm. Then you get really, really good results, even in the gloomy parts of the year. You won't get summer growth, but you'll get surprising amounts of growth, even in some gloomy days.
Okay.
Criminally, I forgot to mention spinach. Spinach, fantastic crop over the winter. We're sowing trays and trays and trays of spinach at the moment.
Is this come again spinach or whatever you call it?
At this time of year, spinach is come again spinach.
Yeah.
It's not perpetual spinach. It's the conventional spinach of the salad bags in the shops. It's super tasty over the winter.
Yeah.
The low temperatures mean you get really nice spinach. If you protect it over the midwinter and things, you'll get fantastic, large, super tender leaves and surprising amounts of them.
Yeah.
Another killer we're going to do lots of is watercress.
Oh yeah.
It grows really, really well.
I love watercress, and we don't keep it in water here. We keep it in soil.
This is the thing. Yeah, watercress basically, is actually quite hardy. It's a native plant. It was a traditional British winter crop, but then everybody went over to having it in salads in summer. But it was traditionally grown over the winter in warm stream water, like spring water, which never got too cold, so it would never freeze. So it was something a green you could harvest in the winter. But the plant will grow even in very, very gloomy weather, even outside.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll talk about watercress later, though, because there's a few tips about that.
Okay.
So there you have it, spinach. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Fabrice.